there, folks! Today I'm going to teach you how to make spun sugar. Now, it might seem like a really fancy decoration, and it sort of is, but it's a simple one. Okay, maybe not simple, there's maybe a little bit of technique to this, but you'll get it down and you'll impress your guests. So let's get started. So first we're going to make some caramel, and this is really the semi-easy part. Sugar, just toss that right in the bowl. This is 2 cups of granulated sugar, and half a cup of water. Now I usually like to kind of run it around the edge to make sure no sugar is going to be up on the sides of the pan. So I've got my water in there, and I'm going to use my finger here to just kind of make sure that all the sugar is going to get wet. And then I do see I've got a little bit of sugar up on the edge. So what you'll want to do, if you have any sugar up on the side of the pan, that can cause your caramel to crystallize later down in the process. So dip your brush in the water, get a lot on there, and what you want to do is kind of let the water drip down and wash the sugar down in. So if you see any, go ahead and do that. So now that we're going to turn the heat on. Okay, now what we want to do is let the sugar dissolve completely before we move the pan, because if you disturb it or agitate it, it can crystallize very quickly. Alright, so while we're waiting for the sugar to come up and turn into caramel, we've got to get our setup ready so we can spin the sugar right when it's set to go. Alright, so what we have here is a rolling pin that we propped up on 2 tall items. Also, be sure to put some protective sheets of parchment down below it to catch the mess as well. And then, once you've got it set up, drape a sheet of parchment over the top of your pin too. So here we can see that the water's coming to a boil around the edges. That's excellent. The sugar hasn't dissolved yet, so we're still not moving the pan. So you can see around the edge of the pan, we have a little bit of light color. You can also see some sugar crystals forming. What you want to do, we're going to give this pan a little swirl now. Sometimes those sugar crystals will just dissolve back into the caramel, and that's perfect. If we see that this starts to crystallize over, we're just going to start a new pan. We're looking for a light amber color again, and so it's probably not going to be much longer. So I'm going to give it one last swirl and call it good. I'm going to transfer this to an ice water bath just very quickly because we don't want to cool it too much. I'd rather cool it several times. Okay. Okay, give it a swirl. Pop it in again. Okay. Keep swirling it. Now I'm going to stick a fork in here and kind of test this. So you can kind of see that the sugar's dropping kind of in globs rather than threads. But I can see that some threads are starting to kind of form and fly away. So you can either start your spun sugar now, or you can try and cool it a little bit more. But what you don't want to do is cool it so much that the bottom of the pan gets really cold, because then your caramel is going to just firm up way too quickly and you're not going to be able to spin the sugar. I'm going to give it one more cold blast here. What we're going to do is move over to our setup and give it a try. So you can either do this with 1 fork or 2. You'll get the job done faster if you have 2. You want to hold them sort of side by side like this. So I've got my 2 forks here, and we're going to give this a go. See if it's at the right sort of consistency. So you're just going to kind of flick it back and forth over the parchment. And if you get these beads like that, a few is fairly natural. But I'm going to continue with this, because I think a few little droplets are okay. Now, you'll want to continue with this until you get the amount of spun sugar that you want. So one thing you want to be careful of when you're doing spun sugar is not getting the caramel on you. If you've ever gotten hot caramel on your skin, it was probably the first and last time. There we go. It's getting a little bit better. You can see as my caramel's cooling down, I'm getting more of the threading that we're looking for. Once you get the amount of spun sugar that you're happy with, set your pan aside and make sure that this is kind of set up. I'm going to lift up the edge of my parchment on this side and loosen it over here as well. Okay, and then this should just sort of come right up off the parchment, ideally. It's broken now, but that is okay because you can mold this spun sugar sort of however you want. You can ball up the spun sugar like this to use at the top of, say, a croquembouche. I'm going to gather up all of these threads here, and you can sort of bunch it together in a longer mass and use it to shape around desserts for a pretty presentation. And if you want something longer than this, you can just get more of the strands and sort of clump them together. Because it's made out of sugar, it will all stick together. This is a fun little trick to really fancy up your desserts, and I hope you had fun learning about this, so good luck.